Hi again, I'm just doing a follow-up video to my recent one on Broadheath elections and the results. I'm just going to do a quick breakdown of the actual election results for my area. Now, it was a 49% turnout, 49.6% turnout. There was 4,389 ballots issued, but the potential electorate in the area is 8,846. So 50% of the population just couldn't be asked. I suspect most of that would be British. So obviously the winner was a Conservative, which was Kushak Chakrabarti, and he had 1,614 votes, which seems a lot, but he, over the last few elections, he's been on and around that figure up to 2021. But other candidates have had massive, in comparison, wins over him. So his vote share has never really changed, which goes back to my earlier point about local Indians supporting him because he's Indian. So obviously, Conservatives won this recent election, 1614 votes. The next one down was Labour, which was Mavrish Masood, which I think is a Pakistani descent candidate for Labour, and he had 978 votes. The Lib Democrats trailed behind that with 841, and Reform candidate 723. I mean, so obviously the majority of people did not vote for Kaushik Chakrabarti. So we had less than a 50% turnout, and obviously he has won with 1614. But this seems to be because obviously Reform's taking votes away from Labour as well as the Conservatives, and I would put it down to apathy on the British electorate, who's essentially just given up now with politics. Now, previous year in 2022, Chakrabarti also went up as the Conservative councillor. He lost, and the Labour candidate at the time, which was a British woman, Amy White, got 1,894. Now, like I say, Chakrabarti's turnout has been consistent all the way up until 2020. He very rarely gets more than he actually gets. When people come out from the British public, I mean, at the time there was a lot of, obviously 2021, there was a lot of anti-Conservative feeling, and 2022. So Labour obviously inherited that vote. And it's not like because Labour's popular, because their turnout this year was pathetic. But Labour has consistently got 300 to 400 more votes than Chakrabarti. Now, and like I say, Chakrabarti's turnout in 2021 was 1708, which is higher than his win this year, and his turnout in 2022 was 1649, which he lost again to the Labour Party, which is still higher than his win this year. So like I say, most of what's happened here is apathy on the British voters, but also obviously the Indian population in the area is quite large. In the state census 2021, the number of people in the area who were born overseas was just shy of 20%. That was 2021. Now, the Boris wave came in 21, 22, and then obviously 23, Sunak and the rest carried it on. Sunak particularly with Indian immigration. So I'm virtually 100% sure that we have at least 15 to 20% Indian immigration in the Broadheath area. If 80% of them voted, Chakrabarti is going to win every time, based on these statistics. There is a large Cantonese population now from Hong Kong, Predominantly it's between the Hong Kongers and Indians now in my area. The reason they're coming to this area is because really high quality schools. Altrincham, Timperley, particularly Altrincham, has got some of the best grammar schools in the country, gets the best results. My daughter went there to one of the girls' grammar schools in Altrincham. She's now at university studying history. But if you see the demographics of the school children now in these grammar schools, it's massively oversubscribed with Indian and Chinese kids now. Lots of Indians. They've moved to the area, wealthy middle class people generally, and they're utilising the best state schools. Back in the day, most of these people would have been in private schools. The grammar schools were the provision of the working classes. It gave the working classes a chance, leg up, better education, higher standards, and then a chance to get onto university. That is obviously getting taken away now from them through large-scale immigration. Populations moving to the area. They're getting secondary education so they can get past the entry exams into these grammar schools, because you have a separate entry exam to all the grammar schools, different standards you have to reach to qualify. But yeah, going back to the election then. Now, I was doubting myself, but I've checked on the census details. It doesn't break it down properly, but based on the population and demographics, based on the previous elections, Chakrabartis has not really changed in any shape or form. What has changed is there's a bigger spread of votes now between Labour, Reform, Greens and the Liberal Democrats, which obviously takes away from one defining opposition. But the biggest one is like nobody's fucking voting because they've just given up. And it doesn't take a lot for a small group or a small ethnic group to coordinate together to get one of their own in power now. I think you have to be aware of this. Clearly have to be aware of it. Because previous years, before the scale of immigration into the area, Labour has always won. I mean, don't get me wrong, Conservatives won in the early 2000s, and the turnout was much higher all the time, even for the council elections. It really has fallen off a cliff because the actual demographics for the area number-wise has not lessened. It's probably got larger, but the turnout and numbers were greater previously in total. It goes back to the same thing. We've got a major issue now with demographic siloing in certain areas, which gives them political power. They can get people elected with 15% population that they can get somebody elected, especially with the first past the post. They can get somebody elected and they get their representation. And let's be honest, the Pakistani community and Indian community, they're not basing their opinions on ideology, politics of the left or the right. They're basing their ideology based on skin colour and ethnicity now. And that's a definite for the Muslim groups. They have only one issue: Islam and solidarity within the Muslim community. Nothing else. Everything else is secondary. Everything else. So, yeah. I'd like to see a more up-to-date census report for my area, because I'm pretty sure it'd be well over 25% now born overseas. Well over. And I suspect that we've got probably a 15% Indian population, maybe larger, where I live. So if you get a 50% turnout and a larger turnout in the Indian community, you are going to make a big dent in support for their candidate. A big dent. Because if you take it as a whole, the British people do not support the Conservative Party or the Labour Party anymore. They've been poisoned to all these political parties. They will not be running out. So the fact that Chakrabarti has won as a council seat, bucking the national trend, it just so strikingly obvious he's got there because of the Indian population now in the area. And that is it. Anyway, thank you. Bye.